crée-t-il? Alors nous passons de la sphère de la santé, nous changeons de braquet, nous passons de l'expérience client. Alors c'est essentiel pour nos clients et nous avons Joe Pine, auteur d'un livre séminal, l'économie de l'expérience. C'est pas tout nouveau, mais si vous êtes dans une filière de détail, lisez ce livre. Et Joe va parler de la question de savoir comment vous pouvez susciter un impact pérenne, durable sur vos clients. Voilà, donc nous sommes ravis de l'accueillir. Alors voilà, les sciences, comment créer des mémoires qui vont être mises en stock chez les consommateurs. Il va y avoir des quiz, il va y avoir des questions pendant cette séquence et nous avons hâte de lire vos réponses. Voilà, retrouvons-nous pour la séquence suivante.
Hi everyone, we are delighted to open a new session at the Human Advantage Conference on a critical topic for every organization, which is customer experience. And we had the great privilege of speaking with Joe Pine. Joe is an internationally acclaimed author, speaker, and management advisor. Joe has addressed the World Economic Forum in Davos, the Original Debt Conference in California, and the Consumer Electronics Show in Las Vegas. A lecturer in Northeastern University School of Business, Joe co-founded Strategic Horizon LLP to help businesses conceive and design new ways of adding value to their economic offerings. Joe is very best known for authoring James Gilmore's groundbreaking book, The Experience Economy, competing for customer time, attention, and money, which has fundamentally changed the way businesses approach their customer interaction. His work has been instrumental in helping companies understand and create meaningful and memorable customer experience. Thank you for joining us, Joe. It is an honor, and we are very happy to have you at the Human Advantage Conference.
It's a pleasure, Eric and Tad, to be with you human to human here.
Thanks so much, Joe. So, for those who might not be as familiar with your work, could you start by explaining the main theme of the experience economy and why it's been so influential in the business world?
Well, the main thing, Ted, is, and it's something that people who have read it still don't always capture this theme, is that experiences are a distinct economic offering, as distinct from services as services are from goods. That's basically when you use goods as props and services as a stage to engage each and every individual in an inherently personal way and create that memory, which is the hallmark of the experience. So we've gone from an agrarian economy based off commodities through an industrial economy based off goods through a service economy. And today we're in an experience economy, an economy where experiences have become the predominant economic offering. And it really has changed the way a lot of people see the world of business and opening up. You know, when the book first came out, one of the most gratifying comments I got, and I get it more and more lately too, is thank you for giving me a vocabulary to describe what it is I do for a living, right? Because there have been people that have long been in the experience business. I mean, experiences aren't a new economic offering. We just newly identified it and brought it out of service and say, hey, this is distinct. So there's a lot of people that are in the experience business but didn't really know how to talk about it. But also what happens as we shift in this experience economy is that goods and services become commoditized, meaning they're treated like a commodity where people don't care who makes them, they don't care about the brand or the features because it's all pretty much the same anyway when they come to care about price, right? That's when goods and services have been commoditized. So it gives something for goods manufacturers and service providers to do is just shift up this what I call the progression of economic value to be able to stage experiences for individual customers. And so it allows companies to decommoditize themselves. It allows them to open up new opportunities for creating greater economic value in their business.
That's really great. And Joe, in your writing, one of the first steps you talk about in creating a great experience is choosing a compelling theme. How should companies go about selecting the right theme that aligns with their brand or their business offer and that resonates with a target audience? And maybe you could provide an example or two of a company that, according to you, has done that well.
Yeah, I mean, there are so many companies. Well, theming often gets a bad name because you think of Disney and it's got to be fantasy themes, or you think of theme restaurants where it's got to be in your face, right? No, theme can be much more subtle than that. Basically, a theme is simply the organizing principle for the experience. It's how you decide what's in the experience versus what's out of the experience. And if you don't come to that determination, if you don't know what your theme is, then basically anything goes. Your theme could be everything but the kitchen sink, in some cases. So theme is something that needs to be compelling, and also what it does is it makes your experience cohesive. It makes it cohesive that everything hangs together. And I give you, amongst many examples we talk about, I'll give you one of my favorite examples is the Library Hotel in Manhattan. It's my favorite place to stay in Manhattan. It's a boutique hotel on 41st Street in Madison. And so library, okay, we think the name's the theme, but actually it's a little bit more subtle than that. The theme is actually Dewey Decimal System, right? The categorization system for libraries. So when you walk into registration, right, what do you know the theme is Dewey Decimal System. What do you expect to see behind the counter at registration? There's a card catalog, of course, right? It makes it cohesive. You go to registration, there's little bookmarks for every different room that they have in the hotel. And what they do is that they have 10 floors and 6 rooms at every floor, and they theme every floor after a different classification in the Dewey Decimal System, right? There's an art floor and a history floor, a science floor, a mathematics floor, a literature floor, and so on. And then every room is after a sub-classification in the Dewey Decimal System. And when you go into your room, then there are books, of course, and bookcases from that classification, plus artwork that inspires it. And one of the beauties is that with 10 floors and 6 rooms in every floor, right, how many times do you have to go to experience it all? And if you're a lover of books, it's just a great thing. It's one of the most cohesive experiences that you can imagine. But also in a very different industry, I think of Heartland Health in St. Joseph, Missouri, that took on as its theme the 3-word phrase, live life well, right? Live life well. And they wanted their patients not just to treat them when they are sick or fix them when they're injured, but they want to live life well. They want to have wellness and well-being. And they want patients to have that, but they want their patients' family members to have that. They want the St. Joseph area community to have that. And they want their associates, their caregivers to have that as well. And so it became even more than a theme. It became the meaningful purpose for the entire company, that this is what we're about. This is our raison d'etre, our reason for existence. And so they actually renamed the company Mosaic Life Care, right? Because it's not about healthcare, it's about life care. And it started completely redesigning. Every time they created a new office, that was completely redesigned around how do we help our patients and everyone else live life well. So it can be a very serious thing as well. I'll give you one more example, because you can apply it to goods and services as well, and use that as a springboard to create great experiences, such as Unilever, whose theme is basically adds vitality to life. Right? That's what they want to do. They want to add vitality to life. And so bringing that vitality to every product that they do, every interaction that they have with customers is a way that they would fulfill that theme.
Thanks, Joe. I think it's really helpful. Like you said, it's so easy to go to theme parks, restaurants, and even hotels, like you said, but seeing it in something as serious as healthcare or as more day-to-day as Unilever is really useful. You describe 4 realms of experiences: escapist, educational, entertainment, and aesthetic. Could you briefly explain some of these and maybe provide a quick example of how companies could implement one of these experience strategies to enhance their own customer experience?
Right. Well, so yeah, this is one of the favorite frameworks in the book. It's actually interesting, the one that is most studied by academics. I mean, there are literally hundreds of academic articles that look at wine tourism and look at this industry and how does it factor in with these 4 E's, right? Our 4E model. So entertainment is about passively absorbing in the sights and sounds that are presented in front of you. So you think about watching TV, going to a concert, going to a play is primarily, not solely, but primarily an entertainment experience. And so whatever type of experience you have, think about, well, how do we make this experience more fun and enjoyable? And I'll give you an example after describing educational, right? Educational is where you're actively absorbing in what's presented to you, and thereby you're learning from it. So the key is, right, what do our customers want to learn, right? How can we get them to learn? But there's this word that's been around for decades. Originally, it was only ever said was like derision, but now most everybody recognizes in the educational field that, actually this is the good thing, and that's edutainment, right? Educational plus entertainment. Because guess what? If you're entertaining, then people are going to pay attention more. And if they pay attention more, then more is going to absorb into your brain. So you can think about how do you provide that level of edutainment is a great way to think about it in your business, again, whatever it might be. Escapist is about actively being immersed in an environment, right? Going from one place to another. Tourism, which is the number one industry in the world. I don't mean number one experience industry. A number one industry anywhere in the world is tourism, and employs about 10% of the world's population. And it's all about this escaping, getting out of your daily life and going someplace else. If you go golfing or if you go skiing, right, that's an escapist experience. If you watch golfing or watch skiing on your TV, then that's an entertainment experience, right? So all these contrasts, but also think about what's educational plus escapist, right? If it's eduscape, we have edutainment. What's an eduscapist experience? Well, basically, it's a field trip. Right, so you remember going on schools on field trips. You go learn for the day, but you're learning someplace else, and it would be much more engaging than just sitting in the classroom or even having edutainment. And we can learn from that in HR and L&D in our organizations, by understanding how do we get people to learn while they are working, right? Or not have just little educational classes that we go to, but how do we apply those classes in our work? Because that's where the learning will really happen when you're doing eduscapist, when you are learning while doing, basically. So whatever you're experiencing, again, ask, where can guests go and what can they do to be more engaged in the experience? And finally, there is aesthetic, right? And aesthetic with an E, as you said, not an AE, not just so we can call this our 4E model, but because we don't mean aesthetic with an AE as in the philosophical study of beauty. We mean a term we borrowed from architecture, which refers to the built environment, right? The creation that you do that, again, engages people. So aesthetic experiences are places like many museums, art museums in particular, natural parks that you may go to, a cafe that you spend time in, right? Those are all passively absorbing in what's going on. You're not really passively immersed in the built environment, in that aesthetic environment that's created by you, for you, by architects or by God when it comes to some natural places of that. And so you need to ask yourself, how can we let guests come into our place, whatever it might be, and sit down, hang out, and just be, right? And just be. So it's why when we first started talking about the experience economy is basically when Barnes and Nobles, you remember, was the first one to say, hey, let's put a cafe in the store, right? And so Starbucks came in and they put Starbucks cafes in the store. Why? So people just don't sit on the shelves and have to stand the whole time. Let's give a place to hang out and just be, and then they can browse through and they'll buy more in essence because they're going to spend more time in it. And that's one of the key things of the model. It's about being more engaging. It's about customers spending more time with you and creating that robust experiences that encompasses all four of those realms.
And you talk, Joe, about finding that sweet spot by integrating multiple experience realms, and that being quite crucial, edutainment being one. I'm still working on getting my mouth around eduscapism.
Well, don't forget,
any other example where you think somebody... Just any other examples? I think the Barnes & Noble's a good one. Anywhere where somebody has taken two realms and put them together in a way that you think creates a really compelling experience.
Yeah, well, what I suggest is actually companies do ideally all four realms, right? And then what most companies have is a center of gravity, right? That if you look at the realms, you'll say, okay, we're mostly down here. We're escapist if we're a ski mountain, if we're a resort. We're aesthetic if we're a museum or a cafe or a place where people just spend time in and hang out and so forth. So what you want to do is then take from that center of gravity and reach out to the other four realms. And any great experience, I almost guarantee, there are some places where, okay, we really want to go to really want to focus on a realm. But any great experience is going to tend to have all four realms. So if you just analyze it. So for example, think about escape rooms, right? Escape rooms, a new genre of experiences. When we discovered the experience economy, it did not exist, and now there are tens of thousands of these around the world. And so naturally, they're escapist, right? You're going from outside into this different environment, and you need to escape out of it. But look at the built environment that they take. Look at the aesthetic. Everyone has a theme generally around a particular thing, whether it's a nuclear war or Sherlock Holmes or a haunted house or whatever it might be, right? They've got that theme. And so they build that environment that you go, wow, look at this place, right? It is a place I want to hang out in. They add very educational elements because in order to escape, you've got to puzzle through things. You've got to learn things. You've got to hunt around, and you can't just apply what you know. You've got to be able to decipher the clues and so forth and figure things out. And then, of course, what's most entertaining about it is when people don't figure things out, right? You're watching other people hit dead ends and so forth. And so, right, the fact that you've got other people in it, almost inherently brings in that, a lot of the entertainment element to it. So ideally, hit that sweet spot by engaging all of those. And I'll give you another example where you say, I don't know if you've ever been to an Italy. Italy is Eat plus Italy, right? It's fundamentally a grocery store. It's the most vibrant grocery store in the world, right? When I first encountered it in New York and Chicago, I thought it was an American company because of the name. It's actually an Italian company. It was birthed there, what Ely is primarily is an escapist experience. Also, you're going to this completely different environment. Its theme, by the way, is a journey through culinary Italy, right? So you think about it. And so they created this journey through Italy where you've got maps and you've got regions and so forth. So you're escaping to each one of these journeys. It's very entertaining in the aspects of how it describes things and what you do, and the people watching again that you're in there. One of the interesting things is you're in an aisle for a grocery store, and all of a sudden, with your cart, you find yourself in line for a restaurant, right? Because they just merged all of this together in such a good fashion. And it's highly educational, right? If you're not familiar with Italian foods, they explain it to you. Right, you see what's going on. They explain what slow food is about. They explain how to cook it. They even have an educational experience for an initiacy, which is an Italian cooking school. So you can learn to become an Italian chef. And the more of an Italian chef you become, guess what? The more you're going to buy from Italy. And my words do not do it justice. If you have not been to one, get thee to an Italy. And experience for yourself and analyze it. Understand, how does it fit this theme very well, Journey Through Culinary Italy, and how does it hit the four realms? And it's just sort of a great exercise to begin to stretch your experience muscles.
That's amazing. So not just the customer, but the customer in particular contexts and how to meet those preferences. It's a great example. Joe, when we think about delivering a great experience, we'd be remiss to not talk about employees. They play a crucial role in delivering on great customer experiences. They can really make or break a great delivery. What are some best practices for training employees to really understand and embody that company's theme and provide exceptional customer service that might help our attending attendees who are coming from lots of different sectors?
So, right. So number one is you understand that theme. Ideally, like Heartland Health, now Mosaic Life Care did, is you apply the same theme to your employees as you do to your customers, right? So they can really live that out. And it's one of the, when I work with companies on it, it's one of the criteria. It's not 100% that you have to do this, but if you don't, then you need a separate theme for your employees. You need to understand what that is and do that work as well, right? They need to get that cohesive experience from the company. One of the obvious things for any customer-facing employees is you need to teach them theater, right? Again, is that, whether that's improv classes, whether that is a specific training for them. We actually have our own online video training offering called Onstage that boils theater down into 5 easy principles for customers. Or you use the fish video. The fish video is, you're familiar with it, on Pike Place Fish Market in Seattle, has 4 principles it comes down to, and they're all acting techniques, right? It's play, make their day, be there, and choose your attitude. And acting is fundamentally about choosing what parts of yourself to reveal to those in front of yourself. So that's the most important thing to learn. But you need to also think about, how do you develop your employees? How do you get them to become the employees that they want to become, as well as you need? So there's also a lot of other things that need to go into that. But if they understand your theme, if they understand acting, right, and are able to take those and bring them to the workplace, so not just customer-facing employees, but anywhere in the company, because in the end, it all is about creating value for those customers. If they understand sacrifice, as we talked about, and how do they mass customize to individual employees, which really is about modularizing. How do you modularize your offerings in order to put different Lego bricks together, we'll say, with different customers, right? That's a key thing that employees need to understand and learn how to do as well.
Joe, customer expectations evolve and change. Staff come and go. So there's really an importance around continuous improvement to maintain a great customer experience. Any methods you recommend for either measuring effectiveness of experiences, or maybe what sort of mindset should an organization have when assessing the impact of their efforts, to know that what they're doing is having impact?
Yeah, I mean, that mindset, Ted, is such an important thing when you get in the experience business. So often companies maintain this like industrial mindset or even a mass mindset, whether they're manufacturing goods or delivering services, and it often gets in the way of creating these great experiences for customers that we're talking about. So you need to take on a mindset that what matters is the experience that people have. It's creating memories. It's engaging people, right? We're reaching inside of people and engaging them in that inherently personal way. That's the most key thing to understand. And then having that theme allows you to be able to intentionally design everything you can do, and then you can start to assess about how well you are doing that. I'm not the biggest fan of surveys because, after the fact and that sort of thing, particularly when it comes to experiences, because we're so biased by the last thing. You may know Daniel Kahneman's, peak end rule, that's what people remember. But often as the memory solidify, the most important part will be that peak as opposed to what happens at the end. And you need to think about how well did we do that? How well did we engage? There are, a friend of mine, Paul Zak, is a neuroscientist. And he wrote this great book on experiences on immersion and how neuroscience can lead us into great experiences. And one of the things he does, he can take smartwatches, iPhone or iWatches, or Apple Watches, and Fitbits and things like that, and actually measure the blood flow to be able to see what's going on in your brain and how engaged you are, and actually draw, here's the level of engagement or immersion, he calls it, in a particular experience. And you start to do that for one, for tens, for hundreds, for maybe thousands. And now you've got some real measurements on where do we slow down, where's the bad parts, where's the great parts, are there ways to make those great parts better, lessen the bad parts and so forth. And it's amazing what rich data you can get from that. And the new measurement that I like to do is to understand that with experiences, it's about time, right? Goods, services, they're about time well saved, right? Do it for me, do it better than I can do it at a convenient, a very convenient and at a low price, right? With price and convenience basically are commodities. That's when they buy off of that. But people want goods and services to be commoditized in order to spend their hard-earned money and their hard-earned time on the experiences that they value. So if you stop wasting their time and provide time well saved, guess what? We got more time. I can now experience more, right? That's what I want. And what experiences provide is time well spent. Time well spent, that people actually value the time that they spend with you, right, in your place. And the way you do that is all the things that we've talked about, is provide that time well spent. And so how do you measure that, right? They used to say that an anecdote that Walt Disney, after he opened Disneyland, would measure the value of the experience by walking into the park at the end of the day when everybody else was walking out of the park and see how many smiles he saw, right? So it was ratio of smiles to people, right? So essentially, with AI and with cameras, you can actually do sentiment analysis and be able to do that sort of thing as well. There's very high-tech ways. You can use, again, the Paul Zach's immersion neuro devices to be able to do that. But in some way, figure out how are you achieving time well spent? And where are aspects where you've got sacrifice, where people aren't getting the time well saved that we want? There's some waste of time there, right? There's a relationship there. But fundamentally, it's about time.
Joe, very unfortunately, we are close to the end of our conversation, but I would like to ask you final questions about the future. First, and we just started to talk about this, how do you see technology, data, and artificial intelligence shaping the customer experience landscape?
Yeah, well, you can see how there are new technologies that allow us to understand experiences. There's a lot of technologies, particularly around customizing. One they didn't mention, it's how I originally discovered this progressive economic value is by understanding that customizing a service turns it into customizing a good turns it into a service. Well, customizing a service turns it into an experience. So, what are technologies that enable that? And AI is potential great possibilities for understanding people as individuals. You may get to the point where people have their own AI, not a large language model. They have a personal language model that understands who they are and acts as their agent on their behalf to go book things and that. And so that could provide a great boon, particularly on that customization aspect to it. AI can also help us in design, by suggesting storyboards and possibilities that we prompt. This is what we're thinking, but how far you can go and use that. So in both the design, creation, and staging of experiences, there are many ways that the technology that's here today and coming down the pike are going to be of great benefit in doing that.
Second question about the future, Joe. What is your vision about the future of customer experience? Is there any emerging trends or innovations that you believe will have a lasting impact?
Well, there are always new genres of experiences that are popping up, every year, things that did not exist before. You like the escape rooms I mentioned, like immersive art that didn't exist, 15 years ago and so forth. It's sort of hard to keep track of all the possibilities that are there. But in general terms, one of the things that's going on is, as I mentioned, that if you didn't create a memory, you didn't create an experience. So the sort of the base is, how do you create memorable experience that people remember? But increasingly, people desire meaningful experiences as well. And how do you that we want experiences that we share with our loved ones that fit in with what we think our purpose is, that help us refresh our identity, as Chip Conley likes to say. And so shifting from memorable to meaningful is an important thing. From meaningful then to what I call transporting experiences, experiences that transport us, that give us awe, that inspire us, that get us out of our daily environment, that put us into flow, are increasingly an important thing and will be more and more important in the future. And then finally, also then transformative experiences. experiences that transform us in a way. And we only ever change with the experiences that we have. And that's the fifth, actually, and final economic offering, the progression in economic value. We use experiences as a raw material to guide people to change, to help them achieve their aspirations. And that's the greatest economic value you can have, is to help somebody achieve his aspirations.
Fantastic. Final question. Could you share with us any of your latest thinking? We have heard there may be a new book coming.
Yes. So it is, the new book I'm working on right now is on transformative experiences, right? Tentatively entitled The Transformation Economy, because they are just increasingly being what customers want. And there's many industries that are naturally in the transformation business. You think about, we have a famous phrase here, Eric, from Ben Franklin, of healthy, wealthy, and wise, right? Any business that's in the business of helping people be healthy, wealthy, or wise is in the transformation business. And that encompasses, not just healthcare, but all well-being, financial services, all education. I mean, each of those are trillion-dollar industries in the U.S. alone, much less around the world, and they're all transformative. That what people are seeking is not just the experience, but the transformation. Not just time well spent, but time well invested, where they're investing their time knowing that it's going to pay compound interest and dividends into the future. And so transformations, this fifth and final economic offering, are really coming to the fore. And Ted, to your point about mindset, right, is it requires a different mindset for that as well. And people need to understand more about it. So that's what I'm investigating right now. I'm actually writing the book on Substack, where people can, either free or paid, be able to get access to my writing, get access to all the chapters, to my thinking about this, as well as tools and other things. Even we have Zoom interactions every month or two. And so you can go to transformations with an S, transformationsbook.substack.com, if anybody's interested in learning more about that subject. And also, Ted, to your point about employee experiences, right? We need employee transformations, right? We need to change and transform our employees to both meet their needs as human beings and what they're looking for and getting meaning from work, as well as to give them the wherewithal to be able to create our economic offerings, increasingly experiences and transformations, but our economic offerings, and do what's right for the business as well. And so, HR and L&D in particular should be thinking in terms of employee experiences and transformations.
Okay, thanks a lot, Joe. It was really amazing. So we highly recommend to our attendees to read this book. And myself, I am very excited and impassioned to read the new one. The topic seems amazing. So thanks a lot, Joe. It was an amazing conversation.
Thank you. It was a pleasure. And I would just add that the human advantage, right? The human advantage is humans, and experience is about reaching inside of humans and engaging them. Transformations then are transforming them from the inside out. So you want to create a human advantage, you better shift from goods and services to experiences and transformations.
Thanks, Joe. Thanks for sharing all that insight. It's really great. Because at the end of the day, we either want to provide a good experience or have a good experience as a customer. So it's really, really exciting. And we'll all be sure to follow your Substack and keep an eye out for the transformations.
Super. Thank you.
Well, I'm looking into the Spark Up, and 75% of you
75% d'entre vous nous indiquent que vous n'avez pas d'expérience mémorable en tant que client. Ça en dit long quand même. Donc, pour ceux et celles qui gèrent des marques, qui créent ces expériences, voilà, vous savez ce qu'il vous reste à faire. Le nom, c'est Chopin. Nous vous avons posé des questions sur les marques et services qui, elles, savent créer des expériences mémorables. Je vois Apple, pas très étonnant, qui est dans le bouquin également, Samsung, Nike, Decathlon, Singapore Airlines, Turkish Airlines, Lego, qui a eu beaucoup de votes, le plus de votes, ça en dit long quand même. On parle des magasins, l'expérience pour adultes, pour enfants, les parcs à thème, le Club Med, ça c'est logique, Roland Garros, Uniqlo, Disney, de nombreuses marques qui suscitent ces mémoires, ces belles mémoires, ces beaux moments. Bon, on vient d'écouter un des consultants les plus connus au monde sur le sujet. On va maintenant revenir sur des choses plus pratiques. Nous allons accueillir le CEO de Kiko Milano, une marque de beauté qui a démarré en Italie avec un succès indéniable. Une marque qui s'est développée à l'international ces 10 dernières années. Et effectivement, cette conversation avec Simone DOMINICI va être modérée par quelqu'un qui n'a pas énormément d'expérience en la matière, c'est Ted. La question c'est comment Kiko fait pour créer une belle expérience pour ses clients. Ted, c'est à toi, cher ami.
Thanks everyone for joining this next session. Let's talk beauty and behavior. This session, we have the privilege to speak with Simone DOMINICI. Simone began his career at Unilever, working up to a vice president role for the food business in Italy, and then became the general manager of Coin department stores. Simone then moved on to serving as executive vice president of global markets at Bottega Veneta, with responsibility for Europe, America, and Asia. In 2018, he moved to Coty, firstly in Geneva and then in their Amsterdam headquarters, where he strengthened the performance of the EMEA region as executive vice president, with responsibility for both their consumer and prestige divisions. Simone then joined Kiko Milano as CEO in 2022, with the objective of leading the company in a transformation process aimed at making Kiko the benchmark beauty brand in Europe and a major global beauty player by disseminating the culture of Italian beauty. Benvenuto, Simone. Welcome to the Human Advantage. We're looking forward to hearing from you and all of your experience during this session.
Thank you, Ted, and welcome to everybody.
Great. Thanks for being here. So, Simone, how do you see the beauty sector evolving at the moment? It's such a dynamic category. We're seeing small makeup brands. We're seeing, the lasting power of kind of Korean beauty and skincare. What are you seeing? Is it based on trends or something else that you're seeing in the market?
First of all, the beauty market over the last, let's say, 5 years has been one of the most resilient markets. Keep growing, and right after the COVID restrictions were lifted in many countries, the growth rate has been much stronger than most of the other consumer industries. I don't want to say all of others, but it has been growing most than all the many other industries for a number of reasons. And the main one is probably because it gives you the opportunities to express your own individuality in a very affordable way when you compare to other consumers' products. And after the COVID restriction was lifted, there was a lot of need to express your own individuality freely, to live outside in a society, whether in the society online through the social network, whether in the society offline through the actual living. So that's why the beauty, and in particular the makeup, color cosmetic. I'll give you some numbers, but it's the overall beauty market. There are different definitions of the beauty market because it depends on what categories you put inside. But the overall is around 400 billion. That is what the Euromonitor is estimated. Out of which the color cosmetic is around 70 billion. And the color cosmetic, which is the makeup probably, is the one in the last years has been growing the most. Right after the COVID, the skincare grew more than makeup because there was a lot of attention for the well-being on the skin. And right after, with also the increase of the social network availability and the communities in the social network, the color cosmetic has started to grow, outgrowing all the other beauty categories. It's also true that in the recent months, you might have read some articles and all the investor relators for the listed companies in beauty. There's been a softening of the growth. After the COVID, maybe there was a boom, and now the growth is a little bit more stabilizing. We are talking now of a projection between 3-4% these years overall, depending on the region, of course. Some region a little bit more, some others a little bit less, which is also the projection we expect for the coming years, between 3 and 4%. Before, we were more positive on a 5-6%. That's according to Euromonitor and many other industries, the analysts. but now we are still on a growth rate, which is versus other consumer industries still more positive, but it's been adjusted to 3-4%.
I just want to dig in more on that resilience. I take your point that it allows people to express themselves, but in some markets, Simone, we have a true cost of living crisis. We have inflation. We see the price of food increasing. We see the price of many of our services increasing. Where does that resilience come from? I agree with you that beauty and makeup can be affordable, but it's quite a durable resilience despite everything else that's going on. Any other ideas apart from self-expression? What do you think is happening there?
No, I think that the rise of the social media has increased the urgencies to express your individuality without following other paths. What I keep saying is that there is a shift in consumer behavior from an outside-in confidence model to an inside-out. Rather than following other patterns by following the outside pattern by my inside copying the outside, it's more about exploring your inside and then communicating to the world what you have to communicate to them. And then precisely for what you said, a little bit of a macroeconomic uncertainty in many regions, the segment which is benefiting the most is where Kiko plays, which is the masstige element, which is in between the mass and the prestige, but probably is able to capture both the consumers' community trends on the people in the bottom of the pyramid, in the moment in which they upgrade their standard of living, they want to elevate the quality of the products they buy, and also a little bit of down trading of the people that were used to buy more expensive product. They find products like Kiko Milano, for example, it's a made in Italy quality at an affordable price. You find this segment of masstige very much fitting into this macroeconomic trend you just described.
So, at BVA, we're pretty obsessed about, customer behavior. And so you're seeing that then where you're seeing kind of classically prestige customers dipping down for certain products, but also seeing maybe more mass consumers reaching up for certain categories or certain products, or when their budget increases. So that's affecting the way they shop the category?
Correct. I mean, I think you cannot cluster any longer a single community into a pricing tiers. The same customers can buy a very mass mascara and then indulge himself with a gloss from Prestige, or can mix and match different brands in a different pricing tiers, depend on the single proposition, how much is able to make the people dream and make the people inspire the people unlocking their own individual beauty. And of course, the social media, and I'm sorry if I keep pushing on this, because this is an important element which has been growing in the last years tremendously. The Instagram, TikTok, and the major platform is talking about the Western world, and then you go in the Eastern, more about the Tmall, JD, Pinduoduo, and all the others. They made trends lasting less. And then you move from one trend to another one, depending on how capable the creators are to engage their own communities. And that's why you find the mix and match, which is very interesting to me, because it gives a lot of opportunities to many players to play an important role within the sector without being disturbed by what happens in the overall industries. You need to look on your own strategy rather than copying the others.
Let me play devil's advocate, because I hear you that creates an opportunity, but I can also imagine for certain brands or marketers or those kind of, planning retail activations, that also this diversification is really difficult, because before I knew that my core, Estee Lauder customer was this, and my core Maybelline or my Revlon customer was this. And now that people mix and match and dip in and out of prestige, masstige, and mass, doesn't that make the job harder for your team?
It is harder, but it's more exciting because you can, I'll give you an example. It is one product in our range, which is a 3D Hydra, is a gloss, is a line. It used to sell an average, until 18 months ago, an average of 70,000 pieces per year around our network of 900 doors. Now we have 1,200 doors, so we expanded a little bit the network, but This product, after it went viral, thanks to creators, not only it was not inorganic growth or paid media growth from us. It was creators organically take this product and created their own stories, their narrative around this product. It went from 70,000 pieces a month to 1.8 million a month pieces.
Wow.
So you need to be agile with your supply chain.
I was going to say, that could be a disaster for you. Yeah.
I mean, at the beginning, surprised. It got a little bit surprised. We knew that we were putting a lot of money behind this franchise, but we didn't expect such a success, of course. And then you need to be agile in adjusting. And one of the beauty of Kiko is set in the middle of the Beauty Valley, which is an area, 100 kilometers surrounding area Milan, where the majority of the cosmetic producers are placed. In these areas, is produced 55% of the global color cosmetic consumed overall. This Beauty Valley. So being at the center of the Beauty Valley, which is surrounding area of Milan in Italy, give us the opportunity to have an agile network with our suppliers so we can react quite fast. But it's also true that it can be the other way around. So someone else might launch something which gets viral immediately, and then you are penalized with your own product. So you need to be always take always a lot of attention on what are your strength points, where you believe your competitors might have some elements which are better than you, and recreate a different narrative of our products. Bearing in mind that the development timing for a color cosmetic product, it might take 18 months because you have a custom-made packaging, you have a formulation, compatibility test. The regulation is becoming more and more complicated because this is something very technical, but the regulatory in Europe and in Asia and Latin America and North America are getting different directions. So in order to have one product flying around, you need to be compliant with all these regulations. So in a way, you need to be very agile in how you serve the different regulations to make sure that the product keep delivering the same benefit, because you have one global account on TikTok and Instagram, so you promise the same benefit around, but you might reach exactly the experience has to be the same, but slightly you need to adapt a bit in terms of shades, for example, because of skin tint of the different people in different areas are different. In terms of lightness, for example, in Asia, they want to have a full coverage, but they have a very light coverage.
Humidity and different climate, yeah.
Correct. While in Europe, it's more powder, it's more cushion for face. Yeah. Like, for example, in North America, it's more liquid. So it's very much, it's becoming more, you said, it's becoming more complicated. But I think complexity, companies that are well structured, they transform complexity into harmony. Mm-hmm. Companies that are less structured, they passively, let's say, react on complexity, creating chaos. So that is a little bit the difference between transforming into harmony and passively, let's say, receiving and becoming chaos.
So, Simone, at BVA Group, we're really, experts in behavioral science, and we're quite focused on context and how various contexts affect behavior. So thinking on that topic, Kiko runs a strong business both with your physical retail stores, but also via e-commerce. How do you attract and guide your consumers to the products that they want and that they need in these two channels that can feel quite different? And how do you see this changing and evolving?
Well, I think this is a period in which customers, they want to have it all. So there is always has been a dualism, and now if you transform dualism into harmony, you leave, you survive. Otherwise, you become the chaos we were talking before. What I mean is that the customers today, they want to have the convenience of the online, but the full experience of the store experience. The full experience, I mean, the beauty advisor that really understand who you are as a personality, individually, understand your skin, your face, your beauty. Style can guide you through the selection of products. And next step is also how to use the product. There are many people who come in our stores to learn as well how to use makeup, which you and I probably are less familiar with using the makeup. Yeah. But it's not that easy. So you are a teenager and it's 15 and 60s, you approach makeup, how to learn. So you can go through tutorials online and you can go offline. So we offering both in a seamless, frictionless experience, thanks to our unified commerce model that really created one experience across online, offline, fully integrated, where of course online you go through artificial intelligence tools, through the augmented reality to look how these products might look at you, or the skin diagnosis, understanding how your skin, if you need more sensitive, less sensitive skin, what kind of product you need, or the skin tone, let's say, detectors that tells you which tone is better for you. But then you go offline and you really can test with a beauty advisor help if what you have experienced online is really matching what you were thinking, completing the experience. But that's the way we are reacting to this, let's say, the dichotomy of online, providing the convenience of the online and the experience of the offline.
On that topic of context, we also know that various markets or cultures have different beauty standards. You talked about different kind of product needs based on climate or skin type, but also different retailing norms. Can you tell us a little bit about Kiko's global expansion and how you're preparing for these different cultural contexts where the retailing expectation is different, or the kind of norms of what online retailing and online channels look like? Correct. And the behaviors that match with that?
Absolutely. What you say is spot on. You need to adapt your go-to-market strategy on a different environment. For example, in China today, we don't have any offline presence. We focus our presence online through the main platform, creating live streaming events, which is a norm now in China. Yeah. More than half of the business do online is live streaming, which is either on Tmall, on the Pinduoduo, on JD, on all the major Douyin, on the major platforms. Yeah. But if you travel in Europe, for example, in the Middle East, or even in US, live streaming is very tiny. And then you need to adapt to different business model, which is the online is driven by either the marketplace or your own D2C, but has to be complemented by an offline distribution. While in China, you don't need it today. So you need to really adapt to the different. And then when coming to the store size and the store format, and again, you need to adapt. For example, in some countries where the distribution is mainly malls, then you build your own stores in the malls. Some countries like Korea, for example, is very much department stores. You don't have malls, you have department stores. Then shopping shop. Then you develop the shopping shop. And in some others, it's more a fragmented, let's say, wholesale distribution that you provide gondolas. So it's 1.5 meter gondolas with an assortment which is much more narrow than what you can give into the full stores. You need to understand how to reproduce the same experience, because the brand is one, and nowadays you really are global, because people are wherever in the world, they follow your social account on an international account. So they want to have the same experience, but you need to adapt to the different channel organization and channel setup of the different region.
And is there a region or a market that's really in focus for you because of something you're seeing in terms of growth of the beauty market, or a particularly good fit between your portfolio and the consumers in that market?
We are experiencing that we are in the right spot at the moment in this masstige segment, providing a high quality, innovative product at a very affordable price with our services provided by BA. I think this overall is valid everywhere. But I'll give you some shades on this. For example, we recently signed an agreement with Alliance to open in India, where we believe this position will be very much needed with the Italian heritage as well. We recently opened the first stores in Costanera Center in Chile, in Santiago de Chile. It was like hours and hours of queuing. I've got our partners there, which is because we opening franchising in some of these countries where we believe it's too complex for us to set up a branch. And it's an incredible success where we are having in Chile and in Brazil. But for example, the largest beauty market in the world is US, where Kiko, basically we are no presence. It weighs 1% for our penetration. We make more or less 900 million, and we make only 1% in a US, which is accounts for 30% of the business. So if there is one single region where we, thanks also to the entry of El Catterton in our shareholder groups, with leveraging the El Catterton knowledge and understanding of the US beauty market, if there is one single country where we will put a lot of focus to grow is US, where the opportunity for Kiko, thanks to the Italian heritage, which is very relevant for US customers, and then to this positioning of high quality, innovative product and affordable price, we believe is very relevant there. So US that's number one. India is the number two. Of course, we have a deep presence in Europe, historical presence in Italy, France, Spain, Portugal. We are growing like a hell in UK and in Germany, where again this position is very spot on. Both online, thanks to the new agreement with Look Fantastic, for example, with Flaconi, and not only with Amazon and Zalando, we are opening to new marketplaces. This is a little bit the transformation we have done in the last years in Kiko, moving from being a mass retailer into the premium brand. Then the other retailers that in the past were our competitors now are becoming our customers because we are a brand now. So Douglas in the past was a competitor, it can become a customer. Ulta was a competitor, now we sell in ulta.com. And so the marketplaces are taking an important role in our go-to-market strategies.
I was going to ask you that, when you talk about the consumer behavior being mix and match, being, prestige down to mass and everything in between, do you feel that your go-to-market strategy needs to match that behavior, where playing in multi-brand stores like Look Fantastic, like Ulta, like Sephora, is that where you need to be? Or is there still a need for a branded brick and mortar Kiko presence, or a branded, brand.com, KikoMilano.com, your own brand presence?
I think it's an hybrid approach. What will be key for us, like it is happening as well in other industries. If you take, for example, Pandora in jewelry, it's hybrid. They have their own stores. They are present in the major department stores. They have selected the wholesale distribution. Because at the end of the day, you need to be where your customers is shopping now. And you need to be salient in the moment he has in mind your category. Regardless, it's online, it's in department stores, it's in the mall, it's it's important that you distribute your product in an environment that represents your image. Mm-hmm. That's why we are much more talking about wholesale distribution expansion in department stores, in selected distribution agreement rather than drugstores, because we believe that they don't represent our equity. But the role of the doors, which we are opening this year, we open 80 doors directly operating, plus another 17 franchising. So 2024, we open another 140 stores when you combine franchising in the countries where we operate in franchising and directly. Meaning that the role of the store still is fundamental to express all our values and characteristics, to let the customers indulge the full experience, and then complement the experience with other channels. And maybe the other channels might be useful as well to, let's say, to let discover Kiko for some customers that normally they don't go to the mono brand. And then they discover the Kiko in the department stores or in selected distribution agreement channels. And then once they enter in our world, maybe they want to have a deeper experience going to our flagship, our stores, where you have 2,500 SKUs, you have a beauty advisor, a makeup artist giving you the food service.
At BVA, we're really interested in guiding behaviors for better customer experience outcomes. If you look at your objectives as a business, are there any customer behaviors or any staff or beauty advisor behaviors that you would really like to guide or see happen in the business, either because it benefits your business or it benefits the customer, or ideally both?
Yeah, our tagline under Kiko Milano is art, beauty, and joy. Art, because we get inspired by art. Italy is a land of art and fashion, design. Beauty is our playground, and joy is a key characteristic. So if there is an element that I keep saying to our beauty advisors, and also to our people in the customer service when they answer to the people buying online, but also to the beauty advisor, our franchisee, or our wholesale customer, is that smiling for us is always important. We need to be an element of joy in the daily life of our customers. They have thousands of reasons to be upset in their own life. They don't need another reason when entering Kiko stores or entering in touch with us. You need to be joyful. We need to be a light of sun in their own life. And that's, but the most important part is that our people need to be joyful for themselves. So that's why we have a cultural transformation program in which we engage our 7,500 people, our community, which we call Kikonics, our people. We involve in a playful, let's say, activations, in a playful training program, in learning hubs. We have a community, let's say, online, which is close and safe for all of us, in which we can exchange ideas, inspiration, because it's difficult to provide a joyful experience to the customers if your own people are not living a joyful life. So it's my role as a CEO is to make sure our 7,500 people have a joyful life, at least at work. Then if they don't have a joyful life in the personal life, I can't handle. It is a little bit more, complicated.
Yeah. And I can understand how you can guide a joyful experience for your team and for your employees. But on the customer side, how do you measure? How do you quantify if that joy is translating? Is it through sales? Is it through NPS? Is it through reviews?
Is it through sales? You have a net promoting scores where our loyalty customers, which is 15 million base, in our Kiko Me, which is our loyalty program, they rate us after, let's say, an experience with us. But also we have mystery shopping, which is something sometimes our retailer team don't particularly like, but it's a way to measure ourselves and to keep improving. We do with a specialty institute globally mystery shopping in 80% of our stores twice a year in order to keep monitoring on the key elements of our experience. But it's a combination of the three. And of course, online reviews are gaining more and more important. Our social teams are keep looking at the online reviews. And community is very vocal today. Community is very vocal, and when they see something they don't like, they are more vocal negatively than positively, I would say. They put a lot of like and a lot of good content when we post our content, but they are also very clear when they see something that don't fit with the equity they have in mind of your brand, or a product maybe disappointing them, or they were not served properly by someone, or whatever. So they are very vocal, and I think it's good. It's good for the brand to listen actively, not to be scared about negative reviews. I think negative reviews is part of life. If you do nothing with the negative reviews, it's a problem. But if you act on a negative reviews, it's an opportunity.
Grazie, Simone. This was really useful. Great to hear about your experience. Any parting advice for our audience at The Human Advantage is really a mix of marketers, C-suite business leaders, consumer insight people. Given you've come from Unilever through to very luxury to masstige, any parting advice for our audience in terms of making those really great customer experiences?
I think it's a curiosity. Stay humble. I mean, there is always an opportunity to learn. And don't be afraid to go beyond your comfort zone, because you become innovative when you go beyond your comfort zone. There is no any innovation in the comfort zone. And so that would be not an advice. That's the way I live at work. So I don't know if it's an advice, but it's a little bit something that keep me energized me.
Great. And for those of you who are attending online, stay tuned. We are moving from customer experience into communications. We'll see you at the roundtable next, where Michael Nathan is back with us this year, and he'll be joined by Harvard University's Todd Rogers. We will see you there.
Great. So that wraps up our session on customer experience.
C'est donc la dernière partie de notre partie sur l'expérience client. Adrien, après ces deux sessions, qu'est-ce que ça donne au niveau des dessins? On a beaucoup appris. On a beaucoup parlé de Disney. Donc évidemment, il y a quelques références à Mickey. Voilà. J'espère que vous n'aurez pas de problème avec le copyright. Voilà, l'importance du thème. C'est ça. Il faut un thème, quelque chose que l'on peut ressentir. C'est ça. Employee can make or break the experience. C'est ça. Soit dans un sens, soit dans le sens inverse. Nous avons également vu qu'on peut combiner différents types d'expériences. Voilà, on a un exemple ici avec cette exploratrice qui trouve un livre dans la jungle. Mesurer l'engagement. C'est ça. Bien dépenser son temps en tant que client ou en tant que fournisseur. Et la dernière session des Kiko Milano, alors on est dans le segment de la beauté cette fois-ci. 400 milliards, un marché de 400 milliards de chiffre d'affaires. On ne copie pas les autres. Il faut donc votre propre stratégie et puis faire preuve d'agilité, pardonnez-moi. Voilà, ils ont donné l'exemple du produit qui a été vendu par le biais des réseaux sociaux et qui a été, dont le succès a été incontrôlable. Il a fallu qu'ils ajustent leur chaîne de production. Et puis le thème de l'harmonie entre le magasin et l'expérience, entre le digital et l'expérience en ligne. Eric.